Hello.
Hello.
I'm Tom Dickinson,
And I'm Louis Midas,
and this is the Cloister Room.
a podcast about Doctor Who and other things.
Sherlock, Series 2 of it.
Yes. Yes.
I assume you watched all 3 of those episodes.
I did, in fact.
What did you think about them?
I thought they were great.
Yeah, me too. I thought they were even better than Series 1.
I agree.
Like, all of them were better than all of them in Series 1, in my
Yes,
opinion.
I would agree with that, actually. Everything they did really well in the first series, I think they did better in this one. I think that the dialogue was probably better. Admittedly, I've only read a handful of, actually less than a handful of Sherlock Holmes stories. I've read maybe 2.
Depending on how big they are and how small your hands are.
Precisely. I actually did read The Hound of Baskervilles, but I don't remember it because I read it years ago.
That's actually one that I haven't read. I've read a lot of them, but I haven't read all of them, and that's one that I haven't.
And I don't remember it. But I don't remember it involving... Obviously, they do change these things to make them more modern and what have you. And I do not remember how the original ended and things like that. So I can't really compare it to this one that appeared in Series 2. But I really did like it.
I think all of them are virtually, like, entirely different stories that are only very loosely based on the original. Like,
Which would make sense.
yeah. For instance, A Scandal in Bohemia, which is the first Sherlock Holmes short story, is basically the first half hour of the premiere of Series 2. The rest of that episode is an entirely new and different thing.
Interesting.
And they picked some of the the biggest and most, like, iconic Sherlock Holmes stories this season, and they did really well with all of them, in my opinion. And I really liked everything.
Yeah, I think that this sort of, not that it was a cliffhanger, but the ending of this series was, I think, better than the ending of the first series. I think that the kind of relationship between Watson and Sherlock was sort of explored more, and I think that certainly the finale was more emotionally impactful than the previous one was. And I think that in a lot of ways that made it better.
I agree.
I actually, I do like how I think this was most readily apparent in the Hound of the the Hound of the Baskervilles, and I think probably the other ones, but just the suggestion that Watson and Sherlock are romantically involved.
Yes.
I liked that. That was humorous.
And that's been a sort of a big thing, I guess, over the course of, like, the history of the characters, that people have sort of suggested that, and it's been a thing that, you know, people have speculated about, but with Watson sometimes having a wife and sometimes not having a wife and sometimes apparently just ignoring the fact that he has a wife. Yeah, and so this is it's a thing they've seized on and done pretty well with, because if they didn't, then the audience would anyway.
True. Yeah. Very. It's it's just good to just take care of that elephant in the room.
Mm-hmm. You gotta take care of that elephant.
Can't let it. Otherwise the ASPCA will. They'll get on you for animal abuse.
Exactly. No hounds were harmed in the making of Sherlock either, nor elephants.
Yes.
Elephants were cared for, and hounds were left alone.
I can't think of a single thing that I disliked about this series.
Well, that's a strong thing to say.
It is a strong thing to say, but I stand by it. Strongly.
Well, was there anything that I really disliked?
I mean, I really don't think that there was anything that I disliked.
Me either. Yeah. I think I actually enjoyed the Hounds of Baskerville perhaps a little bit less than the other two.
Okay.
But I still enjoyed it a lot, so yeah.
Okay, then. Yeah, I guess if I were to pick a least favorite episode, it would probably be that one. Because something that I didn't like about last series is that there seemed to be a sort of strong... There was a sort of season-long story arc, which was the thing with Moriarty, and that was sort of heavily... Not really heavily, but it was referenced in episodes 1 and 3, and wasn't really addressed at all in episode 2.
Well, I think it was in episode 2. At the end, you sort of find out that the bad guy was working in conjunction with Moriarty, but it wasn't like a major part of the episode.
Okay, fair enough. Still, I don't think it was as strong.
No, it wasn't.
And certainly, it was, from Sherlock's point of view, he didn't really learn anything. I don't think did he discover that they were connected with Moriarty, or was that just something that we, the audience, discovered?
I think that's something that's just shown to the audience at the very end.
Right. So I think that, in those terms, I think that it was something that didn't really affect Sherlock in any way. So in my view, I think I just kind of thought of it as being less important, and you could almost skip it entirely if you just wanted to sort of catch up, I guess. Not that you'd want to, because it is a very entertaining episode. But I didn't think you could do that here in this series. I don't think that there was... I'm actually not even sure that there was really as much of an overall story arc. I mean, Moriarty certainly did appear in episode 3 again, more than he had in any previous episode.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't think that there was as much of an overall story arc regarding Moriarty.
That would seem to be the case.
And I don't know. I guess I kind of liked that better.
Yeah, I mean, there's always the implication that, Moriarty's just always in the shadows, in the background, lurking just out of view. But I don't know. That is nifty.
But yeah, so I just think that overall I liked this series a lot better than I liked the first one.
How do you think Sherlock survived the fall?
I don't know. Something that I thought was interesting, and I'm not even sure it could be related, is that I don't think, if I remember correctly, I don't think we learn how Moriarty got the girl to react so strongly to Sherlock. Because, you remember in the interrogation room that the little girl, freaks out when she sees Sherlock.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think that was ever explained.
No, it wasn't.
And I don't know if that has something to do with it or not. If there was, an impersonator or something. I don't know how that would be possible, but I don't know. The
theory I've sort of seen going around the internet is that he faked his death by using, I don't know, a fake body from the morgue. Because he asks Molly for assistance in some way, but we never really see what he's talking about or what that has to do with anything. That just sort of happens somewhere near the end of the 3rd episode of the series.
Right.
And then there's a scene where he's seen bouncing a small rubber ball, and apparently there's some, I don't know, I saw someone say something about this on Tumblr, there's this old trick you can do to make yourself appear to have no pulse. If you roll a rubber ball somewhere on your arm or something, I don't know.
Okay.
I guess I didn't do my research and I don't know very much about it, but I don't know. So I guess the idea would be that he only appeared to have died and his body was switched with another body, although it doesn't really look, from the way that scene is shot, as though there could be any ambiguity.
Right, that's the thing. But then again, it didn't look like there was any ambiguity with the Tesselecta either.
Exactly, I was wondering whether it might be a Tesselecta, and that could be the solution.
It's just one big crossover with Doctor Who. Stephen Moffat's been playing this since the beginning.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. The death of Sherlock Holmes, or rather the apparent death of Sherlock Holmes, you may know this, it comes from the classic series.
The classic?
When I say the classic series, I mean the original stories.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I think I knew that, but maybe I didn't really know that.
Well, there's a story called The Final Problem, which is something that Moriarty keeps saying in this episode. He keeps referring to the final problem, in which Holmes appears to have died, but it's nowhere near as certain as it is in this episode. All that happens is he goes up to this waterfall, the Reichenbach Fall, in fact, which is the title of this episode, and confronts Moriarty there, and they both fall apparently to their deaths, but Watson's not there. He only hears about it later. So... I mean, there's really no incredibly compelling evidence that Sherlock's dead. It's just sort of assumed that he's dead. And then years later when Conan Doyle decided, you know what, I do want to write Sherlock Holmes stories again because I like money. He just had Sherlock show up and be like, "Nah, I didn't die." Yeah, you thought I died. I just didn't.
I was gonna, but
Right. I think this will require a good deal more
yes,
explanation and justification than just that. Because I was even knowing that in the story Sherlock Holmes appears to have died and then doesn't die, I was thinking, well, maybe they're just going to end it here and they're just going to actually have him die and they're just going to, say 2 series is enough and he'll be dead.
That would have been surprising.
It would have been pretty surprising. And, they were sort of, both Stephen Moffat and Mark Gatiss on Twitter, they were sort of hinting that might be the case and trying to mislead people. And I didn't believe it. I was like, yeah, they're not going to do that. But it just looked so convincing.
Yeah, it really did.
And then it turned out afterwards that they admitted that the 3rd series had actually been commissioned at the same time as the 2nd series.
Right, I thought I read that.
But they just didn't tell anyone because they wanted to surprise people.
Well, that is surprising, I guess.
Although when they're going to find time to film it, I don't know, seeing as they're both now big movie stars.
True. Wait, what's Benedict Cumberbatch in?
He's going to be in the new Star Trek movie.
Oh, is he really?
He's playing the villain.
Is he really?
Yeah.
See, I haven't been following this news at all. I don't know what's up with the new Star Trek movie.
I haven't been following the news much either. I just, the same people I follow on Twitter who talk about Sherlock just noted that was the case. And then obviously Martin Freeman is Bilbo Baggins.
Yep. I knew that one.
He's in The Hobbit playing The Hobbit.
The titular character.
Exactly.
He is the Hobbit. Mm-hmm. He's not just any old Hobbit.
No, although I'm sure there will be other Hobbits.
Most likely.
They're just going to have to find time.
I guess they are. They're going to have to. But actually, the first series aired in, 2010?
Summer 2010.
Summer 2010. So it's been a year and a half.
Yes.
So we might not see more Sherlock for as long as, that same length of time. Summer 2013, I guess.
Yeah, I guess not.
Certainly with both Benedict and Martin's schedules, that might be the case.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know what the status is of filming on The Hobbit, because I know it's at the very least, it's at a very advanced stage.
Right. Well, I think that I seem to recall reading somewhere that they actually restructured the filming schedule so that Martin could also film Sherlock.
Oh, well, that was nice of them.
It was, wasn't it?
Yeah. I don't think the second Star Trek movie is even in, or the 12th Star Trek movie or whatever, is even in production yet. I don't think they've started filming.
I don't really know.
I assume that since Benedict Cumberbatch isn't the star of the movie, they may be a little bit less accommodating than Peter Jackson and Friends.
Jackson and Friends.
Yes. I like Sherlock.
I do too.
I think, I don't know, this might be a little controversial. I think I might like it at least as much as I liked Doctor Who, Series 6.
Yeah, I would say that as well. I think that it was, yeah.
Well, that's good.
Yeah. Well, I think that for what they've got, which is 3 90-minute episodes, they do cover a lot of ground and develop the characters in really, really great ways. And I think they do it more than they could ever do for characters in Doctor Who.
Oh yeah, that's definitely true. Like in the premiere of this series, they cover almost like an entire year,
right?
And that's like, I don't know. Each episode feels like a feature film. It feels like an entire movie, and that kind of thing wouldn't seem to fly in Doctor Who, because Doctor Who is, for the most part, not always, but for the most part, about stepping out of the TARDIS, having an adventure that lasts 45 minutes, and then leaving.
In some ways, I think that Sherlock is better, I guess, than Doctor Who, or at least this series of Sherlock was better than Series 6 of Doctor Who. I do think that I enjoyed those two series is about the same. I think that they were pretty much outstanding in terms of quality, and certainly they were very entertaining.
Certainly so.
I mean, I don't know. I honestly do not have any complaints about this series of Sherlock, and I think it was fantastic. And there's nothing I can think of that would have been better, certainly. But yeah, no complaints.
Well, I would even say that there was a complaint. I don't know if we talked about Sherlock Series 1 a long time ago, I think. Didn't we?
I believe so, yes.
Yeah, and I think at that point I may have complained about Moriarty. I said I didn't like Andrew Scott as Moriarty. I believe if I didn't voice that complaint, then I certainly thought it. Like, I thought he had a silly, nonsense accent that just bounced all over the place.
Yes.
But that was based entirely on the, 3 minutes of him that we got at the end of that episode. And over the course of even just, the first episode of this series, I completely... even over the course of, the first 10 minutes of this series... I completely changed my mind, and I thought he was really, really great.
Yeah, well, I didn't have any complaint with him to begin with, but I certainly did enjoy his appearance in Series 2, and I thought that was really... it's funny because just of how much of an impression we got from of him in such a short time that he had actually been on screen in Series 1. Because it's strange to think about, but I do think that I liked his character even more this series than I had previously. Even more.
More and more. Now, do you think he survived?
I'm thinking not, but maybe.
It
seems pretty clear that he did shoot himself in the head, but I can see ways out of that.
Sure, he could be a Tessalacta, even if Sherlock isn't. In the Sherlock Holmes canon, he does not survive.
Oh yeah,
but people who have made adaptations and whatnot have often said that he did and continue to use the character. Having him provided a sort of through line to the series, and with him gone, I don't really know what else a through line might be, because there really isn't much else that you could take from the Sherlock Holmes stories and turn into an ongoing story arc.
Right.
He has a brother, but there's not much to that. He's just a brother. He's just his brother.
Just a brother.
Yeah.
Certainly, I don't know, because I haven't read that many Doctor Who, that many Sherlock Holmes stories.
They're very similar.
Sherlock and Doctor Who?
Yeah.
Sherlock-ter Who.
Oh.
There you go.
That was good.
I did make a portmanteau.